Hey, what's up? I just come from like a 5 kilometer run or something like that. I'm pretty exhausted. I'm still catching my breath, but I had a thought on my mind that I figured I needed to share because we had a debate the other day. A friend of mine or a couple of friends of mine on Facebook, and I felt that it was a very credible debate. That it had to be taken on a different platform, but I just want to share my view on the topic, and hopefully I can intrigue your mind on this one. So the issue was crime. How do you prevent crime? Being that the jail system or the prison system doesn't seem to work. That no matter how many people we're jailing, plenty others are still going day to day basis, and some of the crimes are pretty petty. But that wasn't the point. The pettiness of the crime was not the point. The point was the fact that the prison system was not working, and that we needed a real solution to some of society's problems. And I thought to myself, it's pretty interesting, right? But here's my view. The crux, the root cause of most of society's problems, the reason we have so many young or older people behaving nonsensically and almost crazy and robbing and killing people and doing all kind of nonsense within the community, right? The reason we have that is because if they were raised right, we wouldn't have that. But because they were not, then they find themselves having to do things that are out of order and to a certain degree ill within society. So we don't really have a society problem, per se. We have an individual problem that becomes that affects the community. All right, we have individuals who affect the community in a badly way. So the community itself is not really a problem. It's just individuals who were raised wrong that are the problem. So here's the situation. Society has a certain standard for some of its social benefiting and economical systems, right? Say for example, you wanna drive on the road. They don't just give you a car and say figure it out. Well, crash into a few people and you learn as you go. That's how we all started. We all had to just walk. No, 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 no. They don't do that. They have a standard where you have to go to class, where you have to read the books, where you have to learn the signs. Then you have to be trained. Then you have to practice. Then after that, when you figured you have enough practice, only then do you go get tested for your license. And even then, it doesn't guarantee that you will get it. For a lawyer, right? We don't just throw a guy in the courtroom and say, figure it out. You say you have a passion for being a lawyer, throw him in the courtroom and say, figure it out. No, no, no. He goes through systems. He goes through the educational process. He gets educated. He serves his articles as an apprentice, and he gets educated and trained into how to handle cases and how to handle people in the courtroom, how to speak the jargon, the language, right? We teach him everything, and only after he or she qualifies, do we then say, okay, cool, we trust you enough to be a lawyer, right? The same thing applies with a doctor. You don't just throw him in the surgery room and say, operate. You take him through a series of training for years and years and years until you feel he's qualified enough to do something like that. So if those are the standards that we have about people and what they need to do to become trusted, to become to be able to drive on our roads, to be able to operate our people and give them surgery, to be able to represent people at the court in the courtroom. Why do we not have the same standards for the most important thing, which is parenting, right? I mean, take somebody who has been broken and shattered and driven apart by their parents, or who never had love, or who was perhaps even to a certain degree abused. That person is emotionally scarred. That person is, he's just going through a lot. Or maybe take somebody who's a drug addict, or somebody who has been through a lot of traumatic experiences in their lives and they have never actually dealt with those problems. And that person becomes a mother or a father, and they don't have anything that qualifies them to be a parent. Because let's be honest, The only thing that qualifies people, as a society, we seem to have this thing that being a parent is the most glorious thing ever, when in actual sense, there's some horrible parents out there. And I'm not trying to trash parenting. I know that there's some parents out there who are giving it their best to raise their kids. But I know that there are also horrible parents who treat their kids like trash, seemingly or mainly because they have been going through a lot of things that they have never dealt with, and now they're taking them out on their kids. So their kids get to suffer for things they never did. So just because parenting is not a glorious thing, all right? You don't just become a good parent, or you don't just get this medal just because you are now a parent. You have to learn how to be a parent, how to be a mother, how to handle teenagehood, how to handle your own emotions, how not to lash out, how to communicate, how to raise them, and a lot of these things, John C. Maxwell said that we teach what we know, but we replicate what we are. We duplicate what we are. So a lot of what our kids become is as a result of what we are. So they learn from their parents what to be because they idolize them. Whether they're doing wrong or right, the kids, most of the time, they idolize their kid and they become more like them. So if the person has been broken and hurt and negatively destroyed and has been through a lot, that person now transfers what they know or what they are to that child. And as a result, the child becomes what the parents has designed. And then if that's not a good thing, then the kid goes out in society and destroys everything that humanity is trying to build. So really, parenting is not being taken care of like we take care of all the other things that we deem are important. And the one thing that builds community, that builds nation, parenting, we do not take care of because we just somehow believe that, hey, you'll just figure this thing as you go, which is why most of the time we find kids that are corrupt, that are dangerous, that are a nuisance, that are not well taken care of, that are abused, that are heartbroken and are just giving up on life because they have never been taught how to be good, simply because their parents have never had the same thing. So the chain just continues. All right. So I believe that there should be a school, a continuous learning process for people who are parents, or there should be a prerequisite where you say before you become a parent, you need to go through certain things. You need to see if you can handle it, if you have what it takes. You need to go through a series of tests, practicals maybe. You need to be able to be trained on a regular basis so that the kids that you raise do not become a problem to society, but rather society's solutions. They become the builders. They become the people that we rely on. They become the crux, the roots, the people that become leaders of tomorrow. So that's my piece, and I hope somebody learns from what I just said right now. And if you disagree, comment on this video and tell me why. And if you agree, please do also comment on this video and tell me what you think about what I just said, all right? Cheers, and I hope you enjoyed. This is your boy, Tunay. Cheers.